Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 0.6 Wormwood Part 2. We are back.
Wow, why is it called Wormwood?
Maybe look
Does
it
it
up
have
in your own
anything to
time.
do with the screw tape letters?
No.
Oh, then I ironically don't know why it would be called Wormwood.
Look it up in your own time. Maybe you'll learn something.
Is it from the screw tape letters? The Wormwood?
No, I just told you it's not.
What else is Wormwood? That's the only Wormwood I know of.
Well, learn more and you'll know more.
I think you're just making shit up now. Or you don't know what your influence is from.
I do know, I just don't want to tell you.
Okay. Alright, well, without further ado, let's get into this reading. Morning Cask is around my desk, so if I have to pick her up and throw her out mid-reading, I apologize. She's being annoying.
That's okay.
Azez Tazir ran a hand over his face. All around him, there were the sounds of groaning. All around him, there were the sounds of war being lost. They'd made a temporary base on Raroon, a world of black snow and ice, but it was already clear that it wouldn't last them long. The enemy would find them again within the next few days. Granba's repair crews had barely even managed to start the required work on their damaged cruisers, and Idra's healers had legions of injured soldiers still needing to be treated. Time. There wasn't enough time. There was never enough time. When had the flow of things turned against them so much? What had happened? The Gene Tyrants had gotten wise, that was what had happened. They couldn't oppose the Zalon Morhan directly, sure, but they'd found loopholes upon loopholes, using creations concocted by their own creations to add an extra degree of separation, bribing the soldiers of other tyrants to stage attacks on their behalf, putting themselves in the paths of the Zalon Morhan fleet's advance so that it became self-defense, and their bodies permitted them retaliation. Azez sighed. The Zalon Morhan's numbers, which had been swelling after they managed to spit in the tyranny's eye, were beginning to dwindle. Every battle, every skirmish, they took their toll. Their army, their fleet, was now only a little more than half the size it had been before this proxy campaign of the tyrants had started. There was a sound outside, and Azez pulled his fur coat tight around himself as he looked up to investigate. Hollywood, the Muscapugnant who'd been acting as Azez's personal guard, had shifted slightly in his post outside the tent. I'm sorry, I gotta get rid of the cat real quick. Give me a sec.
Punishment!
She's causing an incident. Oh, sorry about that.
Casca. There was never any such cat in the first place.
Hush you. Outside the tent. All good out there? Azez called out. Don't know that I'd call anything good right now, Hollywood grumbled, but there is no danger right here, if that's what you mean. Hollywood was writing away in that journal of his, that little book in which he recorded the names of those he had lost. He seemed to be writing all the time these days. What level of despair would there be, Azez wondered, on the day that book was full? He blew on his hands to warm them up. It was as Edgar had said in the end. The people were inspired. The people had hope. That could only take them so far. Against odds like this, something more was needed. Come on, Edgar, Azez thought to himself. You promised me a miracle. Do you ever feel bad? Marguerite asked, her many eyes sorrowful within her containment suit. About what? Edgar asked, taking a sip of his coffee. The two of them were sitting in the break room, Marguerite's containment suit strapped down into the chair while her expertise wasn't needed. In order for Edgar to feel assured while working alone with a gene tyrant, they'd had to take quite extravagant measures. The suit Marguerite wore wasn't just her prison cell, but her execution chamber. At the first sign of danger, that helmet would light up crimson, and she would be roasted alive, right then and there. If that concerned her any, she didn't show it. Instead, her attention, and perhaps a bit of her revulsion, was squarely on Edgar. About all of it, she said quietly. About any of it. You realize what we've been doing, right? What we've just done? Indeed, they'd just been very busy getting a new unit installed on the Sapphire Star. With the surgical automatic in Marguerite's directions, it was actually a fairly routine process by this point, but still, the work was delicate, he supposed. But obviously that wasn't what Marguerite meant. I'm surprised to hear you ask me that, if I'm honest, Edgar replied, putting his mug down with a clink. Even if you've defected, you're a gene tyrant. I expect you've done things worse than this before. Marguerite shook her head. Edgar furrowed his brow. What? He frowned. No, Marguerite replied, her voice even and steady. "I've never stuck 100 people's brains together so they can figure out the secrets of the universe for me. I've never done something that bad. Perhaps some of the other nobles have done things on that level, but not me. I'll admit to you that I'm bad. That's why I came here in the first place. But I'm not that bad." "You say that," Edgar pointed out, "but you're still here, helping me do it." "I don't exactly have a choice." "Oh, is it self-preservation?" Edgar blinked. "I suppose that makes sense. You're worried I'll make that suit kill you if you don't do what I say." "No." Marguerite shook her head within that bulky helmet. "It's like I said when I met you people. I don't have any right to decide such things anymore. Whatever you want to do with me, you can do." "So you're just considering yourself a resource now," Edgar considered. "A gun doesn't decide where it's pointed. Is it something like that?" "Call it whatever you want," Marguerite said. "You still haven't answered my question. Do you ever feel bad?" "About this?" "About anything." Edgar finished his coffee before leaning back in his seat. "I don't really get why you're asking this, to be honest. Are you looking to cast judgment on me, or something like that?" "I just want to know." Edgar considered it for a second, but only for a second. "No," he said calmly. "I don't feel bad about any of it. I've never felt bad about anything in my entire life." Marguerite's eyes widened. "You don't have to look so surprised." Edgar smiled calmly. "I'm aware that this isn't a normal way of looking at the world. I assumed something early on inadvertently damaged me beyond repair. Or maybe I was just born wrong." He shrugged. "Either way, at some point I definitely missed my chance to develop into a person, but there's no point in crying over spilled milk. Since I'm like this, there are things that only I can do, right? Since I don't feel bad." This one hits for me personally, not because I relate to the whole, like, sociopath don't relate to people, but that kind of line of thought of, like, being born wrong and, like, not being a person hits very close to home, and I feel it will for many people. That's a rough one. Marguerite said nothing. Edgar raised an eyebrow. "I'm not really surprised, but you said you weren't going to cast judgment upon me. It looks like that's what you're doing, Marguerite." The gene tyrant with which he'd spent the last few years of his life just looked down at him. "No," she said after a long moment. "I just feel sorry for you." "Okay," Edgar replied. After a long moment, Marguerite leaned over the table, sighing heavily. "Let me tell you, Edgar," she said, "I feel bad. And it's like you say, it's bizarre for me of all people to feel this way. But it's not just because of what we're doing. It's because, Edgar, I have to be honest, we've been at this for a long while. I can't see it working anymore. I could barely see it working in the first place. I mean, you don't even know what you have those poor souls looking for." Edgar looked over his shoulder as he strolled towards the sink to wash his cup. "We've gone over this so many times, though. We're looking for the method. The path from A to B that makes us able to defeat our enemy. There's a method for all things, Marguerite. All you have to do is find it. That's one of my few beliefs, so it's very precious to me." He washed his hands, but as far as he could see, they had been clean from the start. "All we need is patience." You keep thinking. You keep thinking. You keep thinking. How long have you been thinking for now? You aren't exhausted. You are exhaustion. It radiates out from every aspect of your being. Not your body of flesh, as that is now a distant memory, but your body of thought. Every aspect of you is screaming out for rest. Who are you, anyway? That notion, too, is indistinct now, liquid. First you were one, then you were many. Then you were many that became one. Then you were one splintering into many. The cycle of breakdown and reconstruction accelerates. The phase shift of madness grows brighter and more agonizing. If you could laugh, you would have a mouth. No, that's not right. Or is it? You can't tell anymore. You can't tell anymore. Reason has disappeared for you. And then beyond reason, you spot it. There is a light. There is a light before you in the void beyond the corridors of sober thought. It would not be right to say that it was waiting for you. That would be to place far too much importance on yourself. This is a mountain that existed far before you and will exist long after. You can see the mountain, and therefore climb it, but a mountain exists whether one climbs it or not. You crawl forwards. You see that it is not a mountain at all. You crawl forwards. You see that it is many strings, twisted into a shining rope of endless color. You crawl forwards. You crawl forwards. You crawl forwards. It's so close. It's nearly over. You see that it is a light of the mind, and everything begins to shine. Edgar opened his eyes, and just as he did so, he was forced to close them again, squinting. The light outside was just that bright. As he sat up in bed, the possibilities formed an orderly queue in his mind. Was there some malfunction with the station's systems? Was the station under attack? No, those didn't seem likely. In either situation, he would be dead before he even had time to notice. Besides, the light pouring in from under the door was cast by no flame. Throwing on his clothes, Edgar opened the door and saw that the light pervaded everything beyond. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. It was as if they had all been saturated, infused with this strange glow, as if they themselves were now emitting it. Edgar ran a hand along the wall beside him, and as he pulled it away, a few pale sapphire lines followed after his fingers. They squirmed in the air like strings, or perhaps they were crackling like sparks. It was difficult to tell at a glance. Oh, and Wu Ming is stringman, and it's all strings, connections, webs. Edgar looked up and saw Marguerite on the other end of the corridor. She wasn't behind this either. The shock and awe on her face was much too genuine for that to be the case. Without a word, the two of them proceeded to what they knew, what they of course knew, to be the source of this phenomenon. It was hard to even see in the Sapphire Star's chamber, the light was that potent, but Marguerite grew inner eyelids and Edgar shielded his own vision with a hand. With those precautions, they had little trouble stepping right through the bolts of flashing energy before them. It was like they were illusions, visual effects, not really there, but something was definitely happening. As Edgar expected, the strange energy seemed to be coming from the Sapphire Star itself. The faux lightning was flashing all around it, like it was a solid storm cloud, the energy flowing out into the rest of the station through this central point. Down below, the monitor was blinking with impossible colors. It was trying to relay something outside of common sense, something that couldn't be understood so easily. Words appeared on the monitor, uneven like a patchwork ransom note. Edgar read them. The power strengthens. The power remembers. The power is a light of the mind. Edgar frowned contemplatively. The power? Was that what this strange energy was, then? Some kind of power source the Sapphire Star had discovered. A light of the mind. What exactly did that mean? The monitor answered him. To access the power, you must connect to the power. To connect to the power, you require the key of your string. The key of your string is a sensation of yourself. Edgar, empty yourself of emotion and reach for power. Edgar swallowed. It was a little surprising to be addressed directly like this. The Sapphire Star wasn't even supposed to be able to communicate directly like this, but clearly it had decided otherwise. It felt distinctly like he was at the mercy of something right now. Edgar and Marguerite exchanged a rare look of shared trepidation. Well, it was like they said. In for a penny, in for a pound. Whatever those were. Emptying himself of emotion wasn't terribly difficult. That was basic. I just realized something. I'm sorry if I'm pausing an emotional moment here. Mm-hmm. Does this imply that all these leftover phrases no one knows the meaning of came from Lord Director Eve? Because it would be the only one that would know them, right?
Very possible.
They just trickled down to everyone else. It's like when you hang out with a friend and you learn a new phrase. Emptying himself of emotion wasn't terribly difficult. That was basically his default state. Edgar didn't know if the star meant to reach out mentally or physically, so he just did both. Extending out a hand, he focused on the idea of becoming more powerful, or becoming more than he was right now. For a moment, a long moment, nothing happened. And then the world changed. Edgar gasped softly as a spark of that same energy wound out of his finger and around before dissipating. It was slightly different from the light the Sapphire Star was producing, brighter, almost sparkling, but it was definitely the same phenomenon. Whatever the Sapphire Star was bringing into this world, Edgar could bring it too. And it was more than just light. It was like the monitor had said, this was power. Edgar could feel this force flowing down into his hand, into his fist. If he wanted to, he was sure he could smash a dent into the wall right now. The power strengthens. Yes, it did indeed. Edgar tested it, whipping his hand through the air, noting the ease of movement. There was barely any resistance at all. Edgar? Marguerite whispered. This was it. This was what they'd been spending so much time looking for. Power like this. If it could be taken further. If it could be taken so much further. There was a strange sound, too, like a mix between coughing and barking, sounding out over and over again. Was that what this power sounded like? It was so odd. Edgar! Marguerite said again, her voice aghast. Edgar looked at her, noted the unsettled expression on her face, and realized he was the one making that noise. Oh, he thought. I'm laughing. It was his first time, so he wasn't very good at it. His mouth was just snapping open and closed again and again, each time releasing a single sharp "ha" into the world. His head was angled back, eyes pointed up towards the ceiling, but unseeing, the gaze of a dead fish, like the force of his own laughter was pushing his neck back. It wasn't that he was amused, he was sure about that. Was this what it felt like to be happy? It was so much different than contentment, so much more vibrant. This was truly a momentous occasion, if it could force his muted mind to explode like this. We did it, Marguerite, he finally managed to say, grinning so widely it felt like his face would break. We found it, right out of the ether. No, that didn't sound quite right, but still. Found what? Marguerite asked, pulling her arms tight around herself. Even with the safety of her suit, she still looked uneasy. Beneath 300 screaming human souls, Edgar giggled in ecstasy. A miracle, he breathed. A sudden, frenzied thought bubbled up to the forefront of his mind. This is mine. This belongs to me. But the miracle quickly became reality again, and the thought faded away. The radiance around them was just an unusual light. The words on the screen were just that, words on a screen, relaying not wisdom but information. Even Edgar's giggles trailed off, his face returning to its usual serene smile. Still, letting the energy crackle around his hand, Edgar looked up at Marguerite. Well, that's Aether Maid, he said, casually settling upon a name for their discovery. I'm going to get another coffee. Oh, why do you just he stopped caring, nonchalant.
Yeah, he had a moment.
He realized
he overcame it.
He wasn't being nonchalant around Marguerite anymore. He had to lock in. Dude, this is crazy. So that's why it was ether. It came straight out of the ether.
Yeah, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not feeling that."
I love that. This is fucked up because I already say things out from the ether, and now it's gonna sound like I'm just copying Aetheral Space, which is not okay.
It's a common phrase.
Okay, good. I want everyone to note that down, that it's a common phrase.
It's like Sweet Summer Child.
Sweet Summer Child. It's not the song.
No, that I'm making funny because that's another one that people say that about, but it's not true in that case.
All right, where am I? We answered those. Did you talk about who made the Kaiser? Oh no, Weiser answered that. Okay. Rockshark asks, can the old demons of the dawn only possess Aether users?
Yes, they overtake. Well, let me think. That's a good one actually. I would say yes, because the Aether armaments, yes, you need.
So the best one to handle them to not get possessed would be a non-Aether user.
Yeah, for like transportation purposes and stuff. Yeah, but obviously it's just an object if an non-Aether user is holding it. So you're not getting any benefit out of it, but for transportation purposes, definitely.
So that implies, because people always have a little Aether on, that they're kind of inadvertently fucking themselves over. If you just didn't use your Aether twin, you'd be fine. You could hold it. All right. Lan asks, has Serena been dressing differently now that she doesn't have to share their body?
Yeah, it's full Serena fashion all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Lan also asks, if Eve was the only surviving human, how did odd culture and myths survive into the modern day? Did it tell people about the old world?
Yes, it would have. It would have told its Gene Tyrant kids that in my day. The fucking Earth was so good.
Oh, and then the Gene Tyrants might have passed that on or bastardized it.
Yeah. Then there were records and stuff. Even if the people died, the information still remained to a degree.
Some of it, yeah. Lan also asks, are the creatures on home pre or post Gene Tyrant?
Pre.
Interesting.
Whatever is in whatever's on home is no good, and they would not make it.
Interesting. I wonder what cleared it out in the time since.
I would say the things on. Well, I know I won't talk further about that. I don't want to get you erased.
Right. Well, this was good. I'm excited for more, but we'll see how that goes. After next weekend, I'll be on a pretty tight schedule, so it might be a little tricky to record, but I'll see what I can do.
We'll see what we can do for you for the Christmas special.
Wow. All right. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.